So, as many of you know, I'm training to become a psychotherapist, a counselor, a therapist, and I will be qualified in about 5 months. And I was in a session with a client, and the client said to me, Kasim, how is it that people live with pain? And is it possible to actually live with pain? And I thought it was such an excellent question. And I gave him 2 tips that I thought I'd give you in case you might find it useful. So how do you live with pain if it is possible to do it? Well, firstly, it is possible to live with pain. So there's 2 things that I would recommend to you. The first is to study the area that is causing you pain. And what you're basically trying to figure out is why. You're trying to figure out why is, for example, if the pain that you're experiencing is a person, whether that's your mum, your dad, your sister, they're not accepting you, they're prejudiced, they're racist, they're homophobic, they're not good parents, they're neglectful, whether it's somebody bullying you, a colleague, a co-worker, study them. Because whilst what they're doing is not okay, if you can understand why they're doing what they're doing, what it will do is it will stop you from basically being the anger being activated. Because you're like, well, most people, once you start studying that person or the illness or whatever it is, you're going to start to realize that a lot of people and a lot of things, they're just on automatic. A lot of people are hateful, or they're bullying, or they're homophobic, or they're racist, not because they are like that, but just because they're just copying and emulating what has been before. They're just copying their parents. They're just trying to survive. A lot of people who are like, for example, homophobic or racist, they're coming from a place of fear, not because they're bad people, but they see you as a threat, right? I'm not going to get into the whole research around that, but the point is that any area that you are having a lot of pain in, study it. Most people, when I'm in counseling with them and I ask them to explain the other person's side or to tell me about the thing that is causing them pain, a lot of people have no idea. They've never studied it. They're taking the professional's expert advice, or they haven't actually asked the question. So for example, if I'm working with a client and I'm like, and they explain to me that they are being bullied, I'll say to them, well, what's the story of your bully? Like, what's their story? What's his or her story? Why are they a bully? And a lot of the time, they have no idea. They don't know the context of the person. If I find somebody who's got a lot of anxiety or a lot of depression, and I say to them, what is depression? What is anxiety? Why has evolution developed this thing called depression and this thing called anxiety? What is the purpose of it? Most people have no idea, right? I say to people, maybe they have anger management issues, and I say to them, what is the role of anger? They have no idea what the role of anger is. They don't understand that anger is a defense mechanism, right? It's there from an evolutionary Darwinian perspective to protect us. And a lot of people see it as their enemy, when actually, in fact, it can be used as fuel. A lot of people who've gone on to change the world have gone on to, a lot of them are very angry people. They've seen injustices, they've seen things that are not fair, and that anger has catalyzed them to go on to change the world, to start charities, right? To start foundations, stuff like that. So first thing that I would recommend to you is study the area. I mean, you should be an expert. Like, you should know more about it than anybody else does. And I have to tell you that most people, when I meet them in therapy and I ask them about what is causing them, they have no idea. I don't know what causes my anxiety. Well, what is anxiety to you? I don't really know. Well, you say that your mum or your dad doesn't love you. What's their story? What is the context of what they were brought up? What were their parents like? And they're like, well, I don't really know. And that, in part, is what's causing the pain. The second thing that I would share with you is meaning. Okay, so meaning is something that human beings can control. Meaning means the way I feel about something. So, for example, it's all about attitude, basically. So let's say that you are being bullied by somebody, or you are finding it really hard to find friends, for example. You might change the meaning as to, the meaning that you might have currently is that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, no one likes me, I'm broken, I'll never be accepted. Or you can change it to the meaning of, I haven't found my group of people yet, I'm developing. So to find meaning, what you have to do is either find people who've already gone what you've gone through and survived it, and then hear how they feel, and then emulate it, copy it. So use the words that they use, have the philosophy that they have, or you basically got to read literature. So you got to read things like poetry, you got to read stories and movies and fairy tales, because all of these have, what do they have? They have meaning, right? Like, for example, you watch something like Cinderella. There's meaning in Cinderella, and that meaning can come from protection, from it can be a range of things, because I can't think of anything right now. But the point being is, human beings can change meaning. Right? When something happens, what does it mean? It's happening because. So if you're in a lot of pain, at the moment you are thinking in your head, or you feel in your heart space, that this is happening because. Human beings can change that because. And when we change the because, it changes the acuity of how we feel pain. So I don't know whether those two are helpful to you or not, but I hope they're helpful in some way.